In today's thrift store challenge, we will be headed off to Crate & Barrel to get some much needed inspiration, and then we are going to head off to the thrift store to see what we can come up with for a whole lot less. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Starting this video off talking about pottery pieces. This is always my weakness whenever I am in these high-end stores because they come up with so many really unique and beautiful options, but they are just a little bit more than I am willing to pay, especially because I know that I can find really beautiful and unique options at the thrift store as well. So let me share with you a quick example. My husband said he would have just immediately passed right past this because of the kind of cheap looking hydrangeas, but the pot is actually really nice. So just try to think of that when you're in the thrift store, that everything can kind of be separated and you can put it back together exactly as you want it. So for the inside of this, now that we removed the florals, I don't want to remove all of the foam completely because there's going to be times that I probably do want to use faux. I'm going to leave kind of the perimeter with the foam and then just cut a small hole here in the middle so I can stick some real flowers in here for when it is styled on my kitchen island. After removing enough of the foam so that way I can stick a glass jar filled with water to place my hydrangeas from Trader Joe's, I think this just makes such an elegant and beautiful statement on my kitchen island, but was so cost effective because I thrifted the planter. I know people say never, but I think when it comes to glassware, this would definitely be the absolute one category I would never pay these retail prices for because there is such amazing, beautiful glassware out there at your thrift stores. So for example, when it comes to glassware, it is so overwhelming because there's so many options. So I like to take a screenshot of a Crate & Barrel glassware item that I really love, and I'll add it to my notes tab, and I'll continually keep my eyes out for an item that looks really similar to that. So for example, I found this glass bowl here that I thought was just so elegant, so delicate, but was just $6, and something comparable to that at Crate & Barrel would cost about $50. So for the kitchen island styling, I only spent $10 between the hydrangea planter and the glass bowl. I think it looks really chic, really put together, but was so budget friendly because I thrifted everything. However, an area of my house that's definitely not looking so chic right now is the point of entry from our garage. It's just a drop zone. There's always just shoes and bags and everything is just overflowing in this area because there's not a great storage solution. So I was looking at Crate & Barrel for some inspiration for some entryway kind of storage solutions that you can kind of pick and choose the pieces that you want. But even just the simple peg rail is $200. I really loved these, but this was thousands of dollars, and on top of that wouldn't fit the scale of my space. So I've been keeping my eyes out at the thrift store, and usually the peg rails I see are something like this, and it still just really doesn't offer me enough storage or as much storage as I would like. So I ended up picking up this peg rack here, and I'm just going to remove all of the pegs from this rack because I won't be using this back piece. I'm going to be using MDF instead. So I'm going to set these pegs off to the side because I wanted to add some sort of visual interest to the backs of these walls by adding some beadboard. So we had all of these pieces cut at Lowe's. The only thing we did was take this little section off here, this light switch here. So Lowe's will cut 2 cuts for each board. I'm going to use liquid nails just to kind of get it started, and then I'm going to come in with my nail gun. Okay, so now taking the pegs that I took from our thrifted item, in order for me to know how deep I need to drill into the MDF board, my husband just taught me this hack. Take some painter's tape, and you're going to want to kind of measure how deep you're going to need to go in and just kind of wrap around your drill bit so that way you know when to stop. But before I attach all of these pegs into the MDF, I want to add a little bit of wood glue into each hole that I made, and then also drilling a smaller hole in from the back and screwing those pegs in place. With our pegs secure and in place, I just added liquid nails to the back of the MDF and set it on top of the beadboard. So now we've painted it and I've added some just like thrifted decorative accessories. I knew in this area here I wanted a stool, mainly just to be able to sit down and take your shoes off. But it would be better if I had a stool that had storage. So I've tried several different stools here, and the only thing that I found recently at the thrift store was this storage ottoman on caster wheels. And while I really like the look of this stool, you guys might remember when I flipped this stool, this was also from the thrift store, it still doesn't provide me with any storage. And this is kind of the issue that we're having because this is such a small little area here. I need an area where my kids can put their book bags and their shoes and just kind of tuck it away, and it's right by the door so we can just grab it on the go. And while I think this looks nice, it's not practical. I ended up spray painting this bottom piece here, about 4 coats of black satin spray paint. And the other thing I wanted to do was just change out these wheels to something that's a little bit more chic and expensive looking. So those are coming in the mail today from Amazon. So for the top, I did just kind of loosely reupholster this one just to see. It is nice and neutral, but I'm not still crazy about the way that that looks. So, I mean, it's okay, but I think that I actually like the fabric from this one better that I reupholstered previously. And then take this one here and place it on top because I think that that just goes with like the vibe a little bit better. Yeah, that's like definitely more what I had in mind. And then when the wheels come in, I think it'll just be like the perfect addition. So this is kind of how this area was being utilized before and how it is being utilized now. It's a major improvement. My kids have been great about taking their shoes off before they walk in the house. In the last week or so, I've noticed everyone has been doing a better job about keeping this area much more tidy. But best of all, I was able to save a significant amount of money because the pigs that came from the Goodwill bins were probably about $1, and all of the other pieces besides the beadboard I already had or I've thrifted. Another seating option that I love that Crate & Barrel carries are their cane chairs. And I've been needing a few chairs to kind of usually remain in the office, but could also be used as dining room chairs should we have company over. So I ended up finding these on Facebook Marketplace and they were super affordable. So I just brought both of the chairs inside. She gave me a really good price on these cane chairs. I kind of wish they wouldn't have painted the cane black. I wish they would have just left that part out. One thing that I've noticed is the paint job, it's not terrible, but there's definitely, I don't know if you guys can see this, there's like some rippling happening here and just in some other spots. So the first thing I'm going to do is just, especially on those spots, just give it a scuff sand, and then we're going to repaint these. I'm obviously, not that this fabric is even that bad, it's just not my style. So I'm just going to reupholster these chairs. So first thing I need to do is just remove this. It's definitely more my style than probably this one, but still not gonna work in the office space, so we'll have to remove this one. Oh my gosh, another one? Believe this. Is there another one after this? Another fabric. I cannot, wait a minute. I might not even have to reupholster these. There's another one and it's like just neutral. Might be able to make something work. We'll see. Hey, I mean, it might have some stains on there, but ooh, well, it is neutral. It's, you know, it's fine, but we're still gonna reupholster this. If you've never removed fabric from anything, like something that you plan on reupholstering, the only two things you need are a flathead and needle nose pliers, and that is only to lift and then pull out. So I just repeated that until all of like these, just remove all of those so that way your new staples can stay really nice and intact. But then I also remembered when I thrifted this pillowcase, I'm just worried that it's not going to cover it completely, like it's going to be pulling really taut at its widest parts, but I guess I can probably just use maybe my seam ripper in here and see if that will give me a little bit more allowance with the actual fabric. Another thought that I had was to give it a little bit more visual interest by just adding some caster wheels to the front two legs. But obviously I still want the chair to be level. So I think too, I'm also going to cut this down after I see how tall the casters look, just to make sure it's still level, but I think it'll just add a little something extra. So just taking my circular saw, if you don't have a circular saw and you have a miter saw, you could just remove the legs from the chair itself and then use your miter saw for that, or you could just use a hand saw. But I used my circular saw to remove a section from these front two legs so that way my casters could be in place. And I think having seating options like this that can be kind of multi-purposed, when I need them in the office or when I need them in the dining room, I have them available to me. Moving right along now into some wall decor options. Crate and Barrel has so many beautiful options. I love the organic feel that they provide. Another trend I've been seeing that they do quite often is they'll have sets of artwork. So rather than having like one large piece of artwork, they'll have two pieces of artwork that look like they came kind of from the same family. So I ended up finding these two pieces here for $4.20 a piece, and I stacked one on top of the other in my kitchen. Pieces like this are great because I can of course keep them together like I have them shown here in my kitchen, but let's say in a few months I want to separate them and style them on my open shelving. That is also another option. But even if you don't find artwork necessarily in the artwork section of your thrift store, keep your eyes out for all kinds of areas in the thrift store that you could kind of transform into artwork. So I actually found this obviously broken butcher block that is originally from Crate and Barrel. Murphy, what are you doing? And I was just thinking about what if we made this into some like cool kind of wall art that is unique, because I love the way that it broke. I also thought about if I was going to kind of repair it. It probably would be okay, but I feel like it would just be really, really tough to get that seam almost to be invisible. Or I thought about even just separating them and then adding like some sort of like epoxy or resin in between. So if any of you guys have any really great ideas on how I could repair this or turn it into some interesting wall art, leave me a comment down below. Last but not least, let's talk about textiles. I always keep my eyes out, even if, let's say it's out of season. I found these holiday Crate and Barrel napkins for just 25 cents a piece. And obviously Christmas is many months away, but I actually used these for Valentine's Day, and it was a really sweet little setup, but was also very cost effective because I thrifted them. If you're more or less looking for a table runner and there's not really anything happening in that section of your thrift store, another area to try checking is your scarves, because oftentimes you can find really beautiful scarves made of really great quality, but can just simply be utilized differently as a table runner. And that really wraps it up for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments which find or DIY was your favorite. I hope that everyone has an amazing week, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye for now.